Reservations Not Required is a unique travel cooking show that looks at the perspective from an indigenous side. And I guess that indigenous side is me. And trying to convey the particular cultures, regions, especially the food, and how people relate to the food, and trying to understand how the cultures grew around the food. I started to see that there was a way of viewing native cuisine. Native cuisine was never highlighted correctly. And that's where my background kind of came into play, because I was presented with the Native American dish, and it had wild salmon and wild rice on there. And I kind of thought it was pretty cool because someone said, here's a Native American dish. And halfway through the meal, I literally just kind of scratched my head and I thought, my grandmother, who's Navajo, would have never been given salmon or wild rice as a dish. And that kind of grew a question into something a lot bigger. And sometimes I joke about it by, I should have never approached this because it kind of took my career in a new direction. It just seemed to kind of blow up into something that I didn't expect, because once things got moving with what I wanted to do with the anthropology side of native food and the professional culinary side of native food, I started getting phone calls from people to do work with big organizations like the Heard Museum, the National Museum of the American Indian. Schools started calling me to do little bits of interviews and presentations. And then tribes started calling me, like in Minnesota, they started saying, can you come up here and give us your cooking tips? And I would oblige and go, and I just would have the best time. And one day I get a phone call from a gentleman, and he says, would you be interested in doing a television show? And it just almost sounded very unbelievable. I just kind of, I literally just kind of said, okay, yeah, sure, we can talk about it. And hung up the phone and said, I'm never going to get a call back again. And a couple months later, I got a phone call from Thom. His name is Thom Denomme. And called me again and said we should meet up and talk. And it just kind of went from phone call to meeting. And then 2 months after that, we were doing a pilot in Phoenix.
We started with the pilot. We wanted somewhere that Freddie would be really comfortable. So we started in Phoenix, Arizona, and incredibly enough, we went there in June. So it was amazingly hot. It was 110 degrees in the botanical gardens that we went to, and we had just a great time shooting it. And Irene Bedard and J.R. Redwater were good enough to come down and be our guests, and yeah, it was just the greatest experience for all of us. And as it was developing, we knew we had something special here. We also had a chance to go up to Alaska, which is Irene Bedard's home territory, and it was just breathtakingly beautiful. The people were amazing. The food was great. It's just been a great experience. So. Our travel plans from this point is, that's a great thing about this, is we're on reserves and reservations throughout North America. We're also have a show planned in Hawaii, which is going to be fantastic. But we're also going to have a chance to work with the Maori in New Zealand. I think everybody's really looking forward to that, and sharing and exploring things together. So yeah, it should be fantastic.
And again, I've never been to any of these places, so it's going to be real and genuine for me to share this with everyone who watches and who gets that experience. So I'm really excited about that. So this is cool because I got some special corn here. It smells like the earth. It's great. Smell that.
It smells like nothing, Freddie. That's what I smelled.